Let's go Falcons. There's a question that's been making the rounds online. Could the Falcons pull off one of the biggest trades in franchise history? There have been a few rumors floating around, and we're going to take a look at what the future might hold. So be sure to hit that like button because I'm here to keep you well informed. That's the question that's been making the rounds right now, as speculation mounts about Micah Parsons and his future with the Dallas Cowboys. While there's no concrete report that the Falcons have picked up the phone, the idea itself raises some serious questions that could change the course of this team's future. This isn't just a wild rumor thrown out for clicks. There are real reasons why a Parsons trade, while unlikely, might not be impossible. The Cowboys are in a tight financial situation, and with the salary cap rising, the number of contracts for elite players is skyrocketing. We've seen it before. Jamar Chase just redefined the wide receiver market, and before that, it was Myles Garrett for defensive players. With each deal that goes by, Parsons' price tag only goes up, and Dallas has a history of dragging its feet on extensions. That's where things get interesting. If Parsons demands $42 million a year, an entirely possible number considering where contracts are trending, does Jerry Jones actually want to pay it? The Cowboys have already committed big money to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and after a disappointing season, does Dallas want to tie up even more of its future cap space in one player? Or would they consider flipping Parsons for multiple first-round picks to help reset the roster and avoid a massive payday? Now, let's be clear, there is no official report that Dallas is shopping Parsons. But there has been some smoke. Reports from Cowboys insiders have hinted at some tension between Parsons and the organization. There have been rumblings that his outspoken personality and off-field behavior haven't exactly sat well with the Cowboys front office. While none of this means a trade is imminent, it does raise the question, could the Cowboys actually consider moving on from their superstar pass rusher? If they did, Atlanta would make a lot of sense as a trade partner. The Falcons have been in desperate need of an elite pass rusher for years. They missed out on top free agents this offseason, and their draft history when it comes to edge rushers has been shaky at best. Instead of rolling the dice on another draft pick that might not pan out, would they just go for the sure thing and acquire Parsons, even if it means giving up multiple first-round picks? So what would a trade actually look like? The asking price would be steep, probably somewhere in the range of 2 first-round picks and a third-rounder. That might sound like a lot, but when you consider what Khalil Mack fetched in his prime, a similar package, it starts to feel realistic. The big question is whether Dallas is truly willing to part ways with Parsons, or if this is just a hypothetical that never gains traction. And then there's the contract. If the Falcons made this move, they'd have to immediately extend Parsons, likely in the range of 4 years, $168 million, with at least $115 million guaranteed. That's a massive investment, but you're getting one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Parsons is a game changer, the kind of talent who can single-handedly elevate a defense. Now, let's play this out. What if the Falcons did this trade a few years ago? What picks would they have given up? Let's say they traded for Parsons in 2021. That means no Bijan Robinson, no Drake London. But it also means no Vic Beasley, no Takk McKinley, no Duke Riley, players who were supposed to fix the pass rush but never lived up to expectations. And that's the dilemma. Do you bet on your ability to draft well, or do you go all in on a proven superstar? If the Falcons truly believe they're a pass rusher away from contending, this could be the move that puts them over the top. If they don't, they risk giving up too much draft capital for one player in a league where depth matters. So now I turn it over to you, Falcons fans. Would you trade 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons? Would you commit $42 million per year to a single defensive player? Or do you trust the front office to finally get it right in the draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And that's where this discussion gets even more intriguing, because the Falcons are at a crossroads. Do they continue playing the long game, hoping their draft picks finally develop into elite talent? Or do they take a massive swing and land a player who could transform their defense overnight? Because let's be honest, when was the last time Atlanta had a true defensive superstar? Think about it. The Falcons haven't had a defensive player who strikes fear into opposing quarterbacks since the days of John Abraham. And even then, it's been over a decade. That's why this conversation is so important. Atlanta has been searching for that dominant edge presence for years, and time after time, they've either missed in the draft or settled for short-term fixes in free agency. If Parsons were available, and that's a big if, he'd be the type of player who could immediately turn Atlanta's defense into a legitimate force. We've seen what he's capable of in Dallas. He's not just a pass rusher, he's a game wrecker. He can drop into coverage, he can stop the run, and most importantly, he gets to the quarterback at an elite level. That's something the Falcons haven't had in years. But let's not ignore the other side of the argument. Making a move like this comes with risk. You'd be giving up premium draft capital, limiting your ability to add depth at other key positions. If Parsons gets hurt or doesn't live up to the massive contract he'd demand, suddenly, the Falcons are handcuffed with a deal that eats up a huge chunk of their salary cap. That's the gamble. And here's another thing to consider. Would trading for Parsons truly make Atlanta a Super Bowl contender? That's the goal, right? If you're making this kind of move, it's because you believe you're on the verge of something special. But are the Falcons there yet? Kirk Cousins is coming in as the new franchise quarterback, but he's 36 and recovering from an Achilles injury. The offensive line has some question marks after losing Drew Dalman in free agency. And while the secondary has talent, it's still a work in progress. So, what's the best move? If Parsons becomes available, there's no doubt the Falcons should pick up the phone. But does this front office have the guts to pull the trigger? That's the real question. Terry Fontenot has been methodical in his approach, opting for patience rather than splashy moves. Would he break that trend for a player like Parsons? At the end of the day, this is the kind of decision that defines franchises. If the Falcons believe Parsons is the missing piece, then go for it. If they don't, then they better nail their draft picks, because the fan base isn't going to wait much longer for this defense to be fixed. How do the Falcons take that next step? Because whether they trade for Micah Parsons or not, one thing is clear, this defense needs a true difference maker. And the longer they wait, the more they risk wasting what could be a prime window to compete. Think about the moves they've already made this offseason. Kirk Cousins is now in place as the starting quarterback, giving the Falcons stability at a position that has been in flux since Matt Ryan left. The offensive weapons are there, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, but what about the defense? Yes, Atlanta added Leonard Floyd, Jordan Fuller, and Divine Deablo. Those are solid pieces, but let's be honest, none of them are game changers at Parsons' level. Floyd is a good veteran pass rusher, but at 32 years old, he's not a long-term solution. Fuller and Deablo are nice additions, but they're not turning this defense into an elite unit overnight. That's why this conversation is so important. If the Falcons believe they're just one dominant defensive player away from competing for an NFC championship, then Parsons might be worth the price. But if they're still a few years away, maybe holding onto those first-round picks and continuing to build through the draft is the better approach. And let's not forget, there's another layer to this. If the Falcons don't trade for Parsons, they have to nail their draft picks. This team cannot afford another failed pass rusher selection. We've seen it before, Vic Beasley, Tackerest McKinley, even going back to guys like Jamal Anderson. Atlanta's history of drafting edge rushers has been rough, to say the least. Now write in the comments your thoughts about this, and click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Go Falcons!